Welcome to the deep dive. Really glad you could join us. You know the mission. We take your sources, slice through the noise, and pull out the key insights so you get up to speed fast. The digital asset world, well, it moves incredibly quickly, doesn't it? And it often taps into these deeper geopolitical shifts. Today, we're diving into something that really highlights this a critical turning point for crypto. We're talking about the growing geopolitical stakes where, innovation meets national interest. It's fascinating stuff. From hardware making right through to the global race for regulation, it all kind of points to a maturing but definitely competitive digital economy. Okay, so let's unpack this first major point. Our sources are showing a pretty big shift in Bitcoin mining hardware, specifically Chinese Bitcoin ASIC makers. Those specialized mining chips, they're actually starting to produce them right here in the US.
Yeah, that's right. And it's not just a small tweak. This is like a fundamental shift.
Yeah.
And the why seems pretty clear from the sources. It's largely down to tariff pressure, huge pressure. Basically, those import duties on Chinese electronics coming into the US, they make the hardware way more expensive, less competitive. So setting up shop in the US becomes, well, a strategic necessity. It's about de-risking, really. It shows that things like geopolitical stability, reliable energy access, they're becoming just as vital as, say, cheap manufacturing costs. It really signals a deeper game here, folding crypto mining into, like, national economic strategies.
Wow. Okay. That is a huge strategic move on the hardware side. But these kinds of shifts, they don't happen in a vacuum, right? They usually reflect something bigger in the market. So what are the sources telling us about the overall market vibe, the sentiment, the demand for crypto? What's the pulse right now?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting. The signals for demand, they're incredibly strong. We've seen some remarkable activity, specifically something like $217 million flowing into U.S. spot Bitcoin ETFs just recently. And that's not just pocket change, It's a big indicator. It tells us that serious money, both institutional and retail, is actively moving into Bitcoin. There's real confidence growing, seeing it mesh with mainstream finance.
Right, strong demand signals there. And connecting that to, well, looking ahead, one source mentions this pretty bold forecast from analyst Brad Mills. He's predicting Bitcoin could hit, get this, $3 million per coin, which is what, a potential 100x increase in market value? That's huge. Now, okay, $3 million might sound maybe aspirational, but what does a call like that, even if it's speculative, tell us about market psychology? How does it potentially shape things for you, the listener?
If you sort of connect the dots, it suggests that even with all the ups and downs, the short-term volatility, there's a really powerful segment in the market that has this extreme long-term bullish view, real conviction. Predictions like that, even the wild ones, they create these mental frameworks for investors, right? It can drive that long-term belief, maybe smooth out the bumps, anchor investment plans, especially for institutions. It might even become a bit self-fulfilling over time. And this also feeds right into that high-stakes global race we mentioned, the one around regulation and innovation in crypto. You've got players like Franklin Templeton putting out warnings. They're saying Europe, which was kind of early on crypto rules, might just become like a corridor. Innovation just passed through, it doesn't stick. Meanwhile, the US and Asia, they're pushing ahead fast. It just underlines how critical a supportive regulatory climate is. You need rules that foster innovation, not, stifle it.
That is a pretty stark warning for Europe, yeah. But I wonder, is it really all or nothing? Could Europe maybe find its own niche, with its established rules, maybe in DeFi or privacy tech? Just a thought. And sticking with innovation, the sources also flag up a potentially huge step in merging TradFi and blockchain. Coinbase is apparently pushing the SEC for approval. They want to offer tokenized stocks on the blockchain. What's the real game-changing potential here for the future of finance, for you listening?
This really gets to the heart of that convergence between traditional finance and crypto. Think about it. Tokenized stocks on a blockchain. That could mean more liquidity, fractional ownership becoming easier, and traded basically any time, 24/7. It could totally redefine owning assets and who can access them. Imagine like trading a tiny slice of Google stock directly on chain Sunday at 3 a.m., no traditional broker involved. That's the kind of shift we could see. It definitely signals the blockchain space is maturing, moving beyond just crypto coins to potentially shake up existing financial tools.
Okay, that is a massive potential change for finance as we know it. But while Wall Street's maybe dipping its toes in or more, what's the so-called smart money is doing? The big players, the sophisticated investors whose moves everyone watches. What are they doing in the native crypto markets right now, especially thinking about what some people are calling the next altcoin season, that time when money often flows from Bitcoin to alts?
Yeah, the intel suggests that this smart money is definitely active. They seem to be accumulating specific cryptos, maybe getting ready for that potential altcoin season. The sources pointed to three specifically. First, CRO seems to be picking up steam, more utility in trading, payments, crypto.com services. So it's looking like a broader ecosystem bet, not just pure speculation. Then there's PI. It's apparently looking for a rebound. There's a big token unlock coming, 68 million tokens aimed at boosting network activity. Now, that could go either way, right? Flood the market or maybe kickstart new uses, depends how they manage it. And third, PE. Yes, the meme coin. It's showing a pretty notable bullish strength, which is just fascinating, isn't it? It shows how much power community and like narrative still hold, even without obvious traditional fundamentals.
It is always interesting to track the smart money, but don't they sometimes get it wrong? Or their short-term moves might not really match up with what a long-term retail investor is thinking. And actually, speaking of confusing signals, the sources bring up Kaspa, K-A-S. It's a real puzzle. Kaspa's price down massively, like 65% off its highs back in August 2024, a big crash. But, and this is the twist, despite that huge drop, these smart wallets, the ones linked to active, historically profitable traders, they're still buying KAS. So what's going on there? What does that mean? Do they know something others don't? Or what question does this raise for you, the listener, trying to read these signals?
Right, and this really forces you to think about that key difference, doesn't it? Short-term noise versus long-term belief. The price action looks bad, no doubt. But the fact that these smart wallets keep accumulating KAS, it suggests they have this deep conviction in Kaspa's tech. Maybe it's block DAG structure, the speed, the instant confirmations. Perhaps they're betting those fundamentals will win out over the current market mood eventually. It kind of encourages you, the listener, to look beyond just the price chart, doesn't it? Consider the tech. Consider different time horizons for investing.
Yeah, definitely a lot to chew on there. We've really covered some serious ground today, from those big shifts in where Bitcoin miners are making their hardware, the huge ETF inflows showing demand, all the way to this global regulatory race, and even drilling down into specific altcoin moves and puzzles like Kaspa. The goal, as always, was to give you that concise but hopefully really comprehensive picture of what's driving things right now.
Absolutely. And I think the key takeaway really is seeing how interconnected all this stuff is. It might seem like separate stories, the mining hardware moving, the ETF money, Franklin Templeton's warning about Europe, the altcoin plays, but they're all just different sides of the same coin. They're facets of this digital economy that's growing up fast and getting really complex. These aren't just random news items. They're pieces of a much bigger transformation that's happening right now globally. It's the new landscape taking shape.
So given everything we've unpacked today, the production moving, the demand surging, this global competition heating up, here's a final thought for you to consider. Where do you think the real centers of innovation and power in the crypto world might be shifting over the next few years? And maybe more importantly, what could that shift mean for your own understanding of how technology and finance are starting to merge? Lots to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.